Good morning, everyone. My name is Dipesh Deshmukh, and I welcome you all to yet another exciting webinar of IBG. IBG is India Business Group. We are a Chamber of Commerce, and we help our members get business, get connects nationally as well as internationally. Yes, IBG is tied up with several Chamber of Commerces within India as well as outside India, and we give our members opportunity to do business on a great scale. Thank you for joining us for the webinar, and today we are absolutely excited for yet another round of some important information that we're going to share. All right, IBG is founded by our business guru, Mr. Vikash Vittarsen. Vikash, if you could say a few words. Unmute.
Is it okay?
Yes.
So thank you very much. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. I may begin by saying that I am an ardent admirer of Israel, right from the time of Miss Golda Meir. That's when I started learning about Israel. She was a great leader, and then everyone following is great. The reason I admire is because all your people, all the Israelis living in Israel, are exceedingly well brought up because they have lived surrounded by enemies. So they're tough right from birth. And then you put them through a 2 years or 3 years stint in the army. That instills a lot of discipline. I've had the occasion to interact with Israelis. They've always been absolutely straightforward and ready to work. So that is my short recollection of Israel. As I told you in the beginning, sir, I think IBG should be doing more business with Israel and IBG members. We would like you to introduce us to the chambers of commerce there. Priya, do we have any connections with chambers in Israel? So we'd like you to do that, and then we'll follow through. Maybe next year we can take a delegation to Israel. It would be lovely.
In fact, last year we had gone to Israel Consul General's office also, and we had put up a delegation together, but because of few logistics reasons, it couldn't go through. So I'm looking forward. Maybe if everything falls in place, we can definitely look at Israel for the next destination.
Let's see when COVID allows us to do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, at least in the middle of next year, when the vaccines are around and people are getting safer, travel is safer, then we will get in touch.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, we can conduct some B2B meetings with them.
Yes. Do we have any connection with any chambers in Israel?
Not yet.
Okay. So we must talk to their commercial council and get that set up soon.
Sure.
So with that, Dipesh, I think you can move on with the program of the day.
In fact, I was thinking, why not take an Israel trip and get vaccine before we get here?
Whatever.
I would also like to introduce everyone to our CEO, Ms. Priya Pansare. Priya.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Thanks, Priya. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Yaakov Finkelstein. He's the Consul General of Israel, and he's a very warm person. I got a chance to interact with him a little bit, and it was really nice talking to him. He's been Consul General of Israel in Mumbai since August 2017. Before coming to India, he has served in Israel embassies in Azerbaijan, Poland, and South Africa. In between, he has served various positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel. He has also served Israeli Defense Forces from 95 to 99 as a paratrooper and a commander at the IDF's Officers Academy and retired as a captain. He has completed his BA degree in psychology, and he has also got an MA in International Relations from Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Besides his native Hebrew and English, he also has learned 6 other languages, and currently he's trying his hands on Hindi. So, and in fact, before I invite him to talk, I would love to share a couple of fun facts about Israel. Israel is the only country in the world that has more number of trees today than it had 50 years ago. Israel has more museums per capita than any other country in the world, including world's only underwater museum. and the voicemail technology that we all use today was invented in Israel. So with that, I would like to invite Yaakov.
Not to forget that drip farming originated in Israel.
There is a huge list of their innovations, so I just wanted to give some fun.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Shalom and Namaskar. Thank you, Mr. Deshmukh, for the candid introduction, and my friend Mr. Mittersen for the kind words and compliments you bestow on my country and my people. If I let the two of you carry on, you could have done the presentation by yourself with all the facts about Israel, innovation, agriculture, agro-technology, etc. So, but it's very good as a mean of introduction. And thank you all for the opportunity and for joining us today. And I definitely take what you said about increasing the cooperation with Israel. I hope that following this presentation today, you'll have more appetite and eagerness to have business contacts with Israel, and you'll be happy to share the contacts of our economic department and do whatever is necessary to facilitate your interaction with Israel. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the world is going through this dire crisis of the coronavirus crisis, experts say, that has never been seen before on this scale. But we believe also that every crisis is an opportunity. We've seen it in the Jewish tradition. We see it also in our terminology. I heard it in Hebrew, also I think in Chinese they say that the word for crisis also represents the icon of opportunity. And coronavirus brings us a lot of opportunities to try and improve this world with innovation, with new solutions, because people often ask, how come that Israel is a startup nation? And I'm going to touch on that. You all know that necessity is the mother of invention. And Israel, fortunately or unfortunately, had the necessity to invent and to find solutions to many challenges or problems along its history of 70 years. But the other element is a creative mindset. You have to have not only a problem, but you have a creative way of thinking to try and find solutions out of the box. And Israelis are known to be thinking out of the box. Actually, we even say that we don't think out of the box because we don't see the box at all. Okay, where is the box? And the third element, after necessity and creativity, is a supporting environment, what everybody is calling the ecosystem, which we managed to create in Israel. So on this, in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to share with you a bit in general about Israel as an Israeli innovation as a whole, just to give us a background. Then I will focus more about the innovation in the field of coronavirus and the challenges of the current pandemic. And I will touch also specifically about our cooperation with India in that respect, which is only gaining more and more momentum. I will touch briefly also about what we call the Abrahamic Accords, the peace agreements between Israel and the Gulf countries, which happened just last month. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers. So let us start the presentation, and I hope you find it interesting and useful. Okay, so a few words about Israel. I don't know how many of you have been to Israel or know anything about Israel. But Israel is a very small country, and this is what I want you to remember from this slide. Look at the figures at the bottom. On the right hand, the size of Israel is merely 20,000, 21,000 square kilometers. It's about a third of the size of Marat Vada. It's maybe about the size of Nagaland. and the population less than 10 million people. Today, roughly 9.8 million people, yet at the same time, look at our GDP, $43,000 GDP. So keep in mind these figures about the size of Israel, both population-wise and the land, and then you see how much it is busted actually with innovation, with startups, with ideas, and with development. So many of you probably know that Israel developed lots of creative solutions. Mr. Mitterson mentioned, I think, the computer and the devices that we developed, but also you can see solar energy, security, of course, defense, agriculture and agro-technology, medicine. You see the diversity. And this is another term I want you to have in mind, diversity. Israel is a very diverse country. First of all, the population. We've been in exile for 2,000 years and we came back from all over the globe, from Europe, from Asia, India, America, Latin America, North Africa. And the diversity of the population is one element that contributes to the innovation of the country. But it's not only about the population. You'll see afterward the market, the fields of innovation. And of course, as you know, with Jews, the diversity of opinions is also something that sometimes is a bit maybe difficult to handle, but when it comes to innovation, gives us a huge field of creativity. So look at these figures. Israel, as I said, remember, 10 million people, 20,000 square kilometers, but look where we are in comparison to giants like China and Japan and the UK. More startups than all these nations. Again, 10 million people in Israel. China is about 1.5 billion. Okay, UK about 70 million. And look at the figures also on NASDAQ. We are have the most companies, Israeli companies on the NASDAQ traded, except for the US itself and China. Again, 1.5 billion people, 10 million people. And as I said, look at the bottom, the diversity. It is markets, okay, but people, fields of work, from agriculture to defense to health to whatever have you, we are there. So how does it work? We managed to create a very successful ecosystem. Starting from the army, as Mr. Mitterson mentioned, it's compulsory for every Israeli man and woman after high school to join the army. And the army is basically a melting pot. When you see people from different stratas in life and society, you make bonds for life. Those of you who have been doing business with Israel probably know that many of the startups will tell you that, oh, I entered this journey with my buddy from the army. Many of the ideas come also from the army. You might have heard about units like 8200 or a Talpiot project, where they take the Israeli genius, put it into the army, but then they take the skills and the knowledge and the contacts and the experience, yet they finish the army at age 21, 22, and they go out to the real world and the business world, and they implement it there. Many of the developments from the army have afterwards civic uses. I'll give you one small example. There is a pill camera, which is as small as a pill that you can swallow, and then it checks all your digestive system and screens it on the computer for the doctor to analyze. This camera started actually the camera on the guided missiles for aircraft, but it was shifted with Israeli creativity, Israeli engineers, to civil medical use. The academia gives us not only the theoretical knowledge, but it has an approach of get things done philosophy. If you think about it, that's actually an oxymoron, get things done philosophy. Philosophy in academia, we know they think in the world of ideas of Plato. Yes, very much the theory is up there in the air, while get things done is something very earthly and practical on the ground. So Israeli academicians and the students are directed toward that. The dialogue, the communication in the university itself is mutual between the students and the professors. It's not only that the person on the podium, he's giving the knowledge and the other side is receiving and listening. That interviews the free thinking of the students, which later on takes it to research or to business or to implement ideas. And the academia also supplies support for the business and the startups by creating R&D and also companies which are related to the universities. One example is the Atidim Business Park in Tel Aviv, which is a joint venture of Tel Aviv University and Tel Aviv Municipality. It gives the platform for many businesses and startups to meet. So it's not only a park, physical place on the ground, but they create events, they enrich them in knowledge, they make connections between young entrepreneurs and experienced businessmen or established businessmen to put them together and let them do work together. The business community, of course, tremendously important because someone has to invest, someone has to put the money, someone has to believe in all these young entrepreneurs and all these sometimes crazy ideas that they have. And look at the figures, 300 R&D centers, today it's already more than that, of companies in a tiny country like Israel. And Israel is leading in the world in the field of R&D per capita. Last but not least, definitely, is the government. In the end of the day, you need a supportive regime to help you have innovative and flourishing society. So the government is not only the regulator, it also gives incentives. It created a few bodies that both regulate and give support to innovation. You have the Israeli Innovative Authority, you have the Israeli Industry Center for R&D, and you have the chief scientist who has also the Innovation Authority. And the government actually put the money where its mouth is and gives funds and taxation incentives also for new initiatives and legislation which actually encourages the investors to invest in those young entrepreneurs. So how does it work all together? You see, in the end of the day, we have the entrepreneurs, we have the support of the government, we have incentives, you have financial incentives for investments, you have the support of the academia on the ground, giving you, if you need an institute, if you need advice, if you need the data, okay? And with the culture that encourages even youngsters, okay, 21 years old boy out of the army, to say, I have an idea, let's see if it can work. Those of you who have read the book of Startup Nation know that they talk a lot about the army, where is the role of the army in this. So I said technological spillover, take ideas from the army and see how they can work in the civil world, but this is only one aspect. The other aspect is the self-confidence of you as a young man to speak up in front of the authority, in front of the experienced one, and say, I have an idea, let's see if it works, or I think differently, I have another solution. That starts from the army, when even the corporals and the sergeants and the young soldiers can speak up in front of the officers and say, sir, let's try and do it this way or that way, or after every drill, after every operation, they all meet together from the general to the corporal, they sit together and everybody has the right, everybody is encouraged to speak up and say what he thinks, what we did good, what we did wrong, and how can we do better. The idea, and this is very important also, when we investigate incidents in the army or operations, is not to find who is guilty and to punish him. Sometimes that's necessary too. But you try to find out how to improve, what went wrong, how can you fix it and do better next time. In this kind of environment, you feel more confident to speak up and to admit mistakes, because we can learn from our mistakes. Those who read the book Startup Nation, by the way, there's another book now, more updated version called Thou Shalt Innovate, which I also highly recommend. This is like the 11th commandment, right? Thou shalt innovate, and Israeli are following it, I think, religiously. So this is the ecosystem. Now, let's talk a bit about COVID. Situation in Israel in the first wave was relatively good. We managed to come out of it in a short time with the measures taken by the government and again the medical services that we had. We also entered it from a relatively good economic stand. That's why we managed to absorb some of these shocks of the lockdown. But unfortunately, as we went out quickly from the first lockdown, the corona hit again, and currently Israel is on the second wave, on the second lockdown, which according to the government should at least be partially removed this coming Sunday. But look at the figures, almost 300,000 people have been confirmed sick, and over 2,000 people unfortunately passed away. Again, for a population of 10 million people, that's quite a lot. You can see the curve also. But as I said, with every crisis, you have also an opportunity. So in the next slide, you'll see the opportunities that COVID gave to Israel. And look at these circles. Look at the growth in the interest and the opportunities in different technological initiatives. And again, the diversity. 80 Israeli startups solutions for the first 3 months, and then it's growing with 65% of Israeli developed solutions. So people are managed also to shift their attention. They identify a need and they go for it. They go for the solutions. And now you see again the diversity, because COVID itself is not just about the vaccine. It's about different things. It's about remote monitoring and home care. We'll show you soon an example about what we talk. It's about, of course, the protection and prevention of corona. It's about diagnosis. It's about vaccine, but it's also about social and mental aspects. You can see on the top right, and how many companies are involved in solutions for mental aspects. And not only technological solutions. There are also other ways that Israeli, in a very innovative spirit, socially engage with others during the lockdown. For instance, when people were not allowed out of the houses, and we had the Israeli Holocaust Day, we still have with us many elderly people who are Holocaust survivors, but they are also a risk group for corona. So they could not meet family, friends, grandchildren. So what did Israeli do? They want to be with them and show their empathy for these survivors on the Holocaust Day. So they went outside the windows of the houses of these old people. They would sing songs for them, or light a candle with them, or say a prayer with them, and communicate with them, keeping the social distancing, but yet at the same time not neglecting them on this very emotionally loaded day. So look again on the variety that you see on the screen of the diversity solutions that we had. So what did we do? Protection and prevention, diagnostic, as I said, treatment, and the army. This little article shows you that how the Ministry of Defense was involved and managed to shift a factory within days to produce machines and aspirators for health needs. So from military use to civil use, have the flexibility of mind. We did also this cooperation with India, we'll get to it in a few minutes, in the field of where the army and the defense get into the picture. So let's see how does it work. One example you'll see in this short video clip by Shiva Hospital, who is one of the leading health institutes in Israel. How do you do remote health services in the days of Corona? Please watch. Shiva Hospital is located in Tel Aviv. It's very innovative, also known for health tourism. Maybe many people come there for health treatment, also from India.
שלום.
Yaakov, you'll have to stop sharing the screen and then share again with the YouTube link. Yaakov, you're on mute, so we can't hear you if you're speaking. We can see the screen of YouTube. Can she just play and make full screen?
שלום, מדברת דוקטור ברקאי מיחידת אשפוזי הבית של שיבא. השארתי לך ליד הדלת ערכת אשפוז בית עם כל הציוד שנדרש לך.
שלום אורה, מה שלומך?
יכול להיות יותר טוב?
אני דוקטור סגל מהיחידה לאשפוזי בית של תל השומר, ואנחנו נפגשים עכשיו במסגרת המעקב אחרייך כחלק מקבוצת האנשים שיש להם קורונה. אני רוצה ברשותך למדוד לך את חום הגוף. אם תיקחי לרגע את הטייטו, את המכשיר הקטן הזה, את תוכלי לראות שעכשיו אני מדליק עליו תמונה קטנה. עכשיו נמדוד את החום שלך, בלי לגעת, יופי. מצוין, אין לך חום בכלל, 36.9. עכשיו אנחנו עוברים לבדוק את הלוע. תפתחי פה גדול בבקשה. מצוין, אני לא רואה דלקת בלוע. הדבר הבא הוא להאזין לריאות שלך. תקחי בבקשה עכשיו את הסטטוסקופ ותחברי אותו אל המכשיר. תניחי בבקשה את המכשיר בנקודה מספר 1. תנשמי עמוק, פנימה והחוצה עם פה פתוח. פנטסטי. עכשיו לנקודה מספר 2. לנשום עמוק. מצוין, הריאות שלך ממש נקיות. את יכולה עכשיו לנתק את הסטטוסקופ. עכשיו אני שמח לבשר לך שהבדיקה שלך תקינה. אין עדות לדלקת ריאות. קצב הלב שלך תקין, סדיר. אין לך דלקת בלוע, החום שלך תקין. את יכולה להמשיך את המעקב של היחידה לאשפוזי בית שלנו, ואני בהחלט חושב שבתוך יום-יומיים תוכלי להשתחרר מהמעקב, ומאחל לך בריאות שלמה.
All right. So, okay. So much about coronavirus in general. And now I want to get more into the cooperation with India, which is also quite diverse in this field. In the end of July, a special aircraft came from Israel with medical teams and equipment that Israel sent to India in an operation called Open Skies, which shared Israeli technology with Indian experts and collected samples to increase the data for a few possible solutions for corona, for early and shorter identification of the virus. One of the solutions is one that enables you within 30 seconds, half a minute, to indicate corona. This can be a game changer in the fight against corona, and mainly about getting the economy back on track. Because if you can identify corona, if a person is positive or negative within 30 seconds, you can have more flights, you can open malls, you can open restaurants, and you can control the masses of people entering or visiting these sites. You don't have to wait, let's say, in a hotel for 2-3 days before you can let someone in, or before you can take off, fill in an aircraft and then let it in the air. So these have main impacts. And I was privileged to come back from Israel on the same flight and talk to some of these amazing people who are working with DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization in India, and the chief scientist of Israel, and the principal scientific advisor of India, his equivalent. So see, our teams work together. They collected within a week almost 30,000 samples of saliva from volunteers. Then they took the data back to Israel to work on it, and in the next few days, we hope already to get some of the results of the progress of the solutions on these technologies. So in the next video clip, I want to show you how does it work. One of these solutions, which is just you blow into a tube or with a sample from your saliva, that you can detect the virus and then move on with life. I must say, though, that the cooperation with India didn't start, of course, in the days of Corona. It goes long way back in business, in culture, in research. And it was only natural for us to find in India the partner for upscaling.
just like you have image recognition, we have scent recognition that we've designed. And what it does, it detects the smell or their body's response to the smell of COVID. It's intended for mass screening. So it's intended for sampling hundreds of people in an entrance to a concert or a football stadium or a hospital or even airport.
So as you can see, Israel and India are not competing with each other, but are completing each other. We have some of the technologies. We need the upscale. We need the masses for a database to analyze it and then to see if we can take it out, for the market. Is it approved? That goes not only for health, it goes also for other technologies and innovations that we have. The tremendous upscale that India offers is very attractive to Israelis, and also the wonderful Indian engineers that you meet also in the Silicon Valley in America and in universities, leading universities and research institutes around the world, create a natural bond. The language, of course, that we can communicate in English also makes it very easy for Israelis to cooperate with India. So that operation Open Skies was in New Delhi mainly, but also here in Mumbai. I think we have many Mumbai cars with us online, right? I recognize some of the names. So the BMC also recently made a study with the Israeli company called Vocalis, which collected voice samples from people to help identify COVID by your voice. And this is again something that you think, if you just call someone, right, you talk, and within a minute or two, the computer can say whether you are positive or negative, what implication it has on the economy, on the mobility, on the convenience of life in days of Corona. So this goes on, and so that our presentation and our cooperation. This is from a recent visit that Ambassador and I had last 2 weeks ago to Gujarat. iCreate is a leading startup incubator that Mr. Modi started in Ahmedabad when he was the chief minister. The new center was inaugurated by Netanyahu and Modi together during our prime minister's visit. And 2 weeks ago, we signed an MOU to cooperation between iCreate in Ahmedabad and Startup Nation Central, which is a non-profit company in Israel that puts together, it's like a matchmaker between entrepreneurs and startupists and investors and the academia. So they're going to cooperate and see how to create a better ecosystem for startupists. But one of the main fields they're already working on is solutions for COVID. So you see it goes to all the levels, and also it starts from the very top, goes to the very bottom. Our two prime ministers are very good friends. They talked several times during the last pandemic crisis. And just last week, you see this tweet from Mr. Modi that he spoke again with my friend, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, on the phone. And what was the main issue they discussed? We discussed the expanding India-Israel cooperation against COVID-19. We also reviewed our initiatives, yes, on other fields of agriculture, water, of course, strategic fields of cooperation. So you see, COVID-19 is very much on the agenda between Israel and India, top, bottom, and bottom to top. It comes from both directions, from organizations, from entrepreneurs, from the academia, and from the political leadership as well. Now a word or two about the cooperation with the Gulf. We are all Israel was excited when we signed on the White House these agreements between Israel and the UAE and Bahrain. and before even the ink of the signatures dried on the agreement itself, immediately, again, the Israeli businessmen and entrepreneurs seized the opportunity to try and cooperate. And what is one of the main fields? Again, of course, COVID. So they make contacts between companies, and also the governments are working on this cooperation. It was already reported in the media that companies like Terra Group in Israel and Apex in UAE are doing some research cooperation. They already exchanged delegations. Then see that our ministers of health have been holding talks and talk about delegations from the two countries, and a group of 42 companies from Abu Dhabi, which is yet another small but very creative and successful state, already engaged with Israeli companies in the field of artificial intelligence to find solutions to the pandemic. So you see how we see every opportunity. We don't leave any stone unturned in our efforts to find a solution to this terrible pandemic. And the peace in the region can be really another yet great opportunity if you can cooperate, because the virus has no boundaries. It goes to the rich, it goes to the poor, it goes to this area, it goes to the slums, it goes to Israel, it goes to the Gulf, it goes to India, it goes to America. So this is a challenge that we face together, and we will also find a solution together. So I thank you very much again to the India Business Group, to Mr. Mittersen for this opportunity, to Mr. Deshmukh for mediating, and for this opportunity to share with you a bit, in a nutshell, of what Israel and India are doing to fight this this virus. Now, if you have some time for questions.
Eye-opener, what you showed us. I mean, the innovations that you guys are doing are, as usual, unbelievable. The breath test and the voice test is going to be an absolute game changer, because people can travel, people can, go to crowded places. It's very quick for the test. So thank you so much for contributing all these things to the world. Yaakov, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly take a few questions that people have asked. So, guys, if anyone has any questions, kindly type them in the chat box. Also, while we are taking questions, if anyone has joined us for the first time, please type your name, mobile number, and email address in the chat box, so we can later give you more updates of future webinars. So our president, Mr. Vikash Mittersen, asks, Israel has done a peace deal with UAE. Will this follow with other Middle East countries?
Yes, as President Trump himself indicated, there are 5 or 6 more countries which are considering or in the process of signing peace agreement with Israel. And we are looking forward to it. We are a peace-seeking country, and I think today the global challenges actually require us to work together. It's not only COVID. I mentioned UAE in the field of COVID because of this is the topic of the presentation, but other Israeli businessmen have already exploring opportunities, and also the governments when they are on the agreements. They talk about fields of desertification, which is an issue in the Gulf and in Israel. Solar energy and renewable energy, and other agriculture, of course, agrotechnology, tourism. And let's put India in the picture again. If Saudi Arabia will indeed allow to use its airspace for Israeli aircraft or flights going to Israel from the Gulf and from Asia, this can make a huge shortcut also to the flights to India. Today, if you want to come from Mumbai to Tel Aviv, you have to go around the Gulf and bypass the Gulf, and it takes you about 7.5 hours. Once this is allowed, and Saudi Arabia is positively considering that, this will give us 5 hours direct flight over Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain to the Arabian Sea and to Mumbai. So imagine what it will do for the tourism. Also, I know many Indians like to visit Abu Dhabi and Dubai, so they can have a hop, 2.5 flight from Mumbai to Abu Dhabi, spend 2 days there, and then another 3 hours flight, and you're in Tel Aviv on the beach or shopping, or in Jerusalem at Temple Mount. So these are great opportunities that we have with regional peace, and yes, we are expecting a few more countries to follow.
That will be really nice. Also, Israel introduced drip irrigation farming to the world. It has helped Indian farmers greatly. What other such agriculture innovations have come from Israel? I know one of them is the soilless farming, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, vertical farming is one solution. And by the way, innovation, people think of innovation, it's not an invitation of the third millennia. Israeli innovation started back in 1950s and 60s with the drip irrigation, for instance, as one of them. Today we have also precise farming that you can control with the drones or by satellite through your smartphone, the whole field. And this is amazing because the farmer can actually sit in his home farm or even wherever he wants in America, in Abu Dhabi or in Tel Aviv, and check on the cell phone, and through the satellite, he can get a picture of his field. Okay, let's say it's a sugar cane, which is one crop that you have in India. And sugar canes are very condensed. Once it's grown, you cannot go into the field and see what's the situation inside. So you might have a disease on some of the plants. Some parts of the field might be either dry or over watered. And with the satellite picture that you can get on the cell phone, the computer, today technology with the AI, can analyze what the leaves of the sugar cane. They can tell you, okay, here you have a disease, here you need to put more water, here you have to need less. So you don't have to wait only when you harvest the sugar cane to get the solution. So we have many other developments like this going on. Some of them are for big scale, but some of them are also useful for the small farmers, which again, India has many of them. And we have 29 centers of excellence in India, all around India, where we share Israeli technology with Indian farmers. Farmers can come, and they come in masses, in thousands, on daily basis to the centers to learn about how to grow mangoes, how to grow dates, how to grow vegetables, how to grow flowers, etc. And there are a few more centers in the pipeline. We have 4 of them in Maharashtra alone, 3 more in Gujarat, and as I said, 29 all over India.
Cool. I mean, some cool technologies that you mentioned, and I'm sure it's going to help the world. One of our members is asking a question: how can we collaborate with Israel companies in agrotech security solutions and also import of kosher food?
Yes. So as I said, we have a very active economic department, and we'll be happy to connect with them and to help you to get in touch. And if you come and you express your what are your business needs, they can help you match up with Israeli companies or with the Israeli products that you're interested in. So what I suggest, DPSG, maybe we leave their contacts with you, and then you can share it afterwards with Priya or with Sidi, and they can share it afterwards with whoever is interested.
Yes, we can do that. We can. Mm-hmm. Also, we have somebody who's asking a question: what are the formalities involved in setting a business in Israel? Can Indians purchase properties in Israel?
Yes, you can purchase properties. You can also invest or come into partnership. There's a joke saying how you make a little fortune in Israel. So if you want to make a little fortune in Israel, you come with a big fortune, invest it in Israel, and you get a small fortune. But on a more serious note, again, legally it's possible, and our economic department will be able to guide you. We have also a very active Chamber of Commerce, which, by the way, the Israel-Indian Chamber of Commerce is the Israel branch, and the Indian one are now expanding also to international cooperation with the Gulf, and also, you know, the businessmen are faster than the politicians. They already look for opportunities to establish an Israel Emirati Chamber of Commerce, and this is again one of the fruits of peace. In India, it's already long established, so they too can help you with business opportunities and investments in Israel.
Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, our next question is Israel and India having technical collaborations in defense sector? I guess is yes.
Yes, I will have to refer you to the media to get more information about it. It is mainly coordinated by our head office, our embassy in Delhi, the representation of the Ministry of Defense there. But naturally, we share technology, we share capabilities, we train together, and we're now also in the process of exploring opportunities to make in India some of the stuff. But definitely, we are strategic partners, and partners are, you know, also when it comes to defense. If you look historically, by the way, also back to the days of Indira Gandhi, when we didn't have full and formal diplomatic relations, there was already some cooperation between Israel and India, that Israel supported India with a military supply in the Chinese war, in the war with Pakistan, etc. So it started already back in the, I think, 50s, 60s, and it goes on today. But defense is not everything. As I said, we have in agriculture, we have in water, we have in innovation, we have in COVID and health, and many communication, many other fields, cyber, fintech. Mumbai, you know, is the capital business capital of India. Lots of interest in fintech, in protecting your system, protecting your clients, and we have lots of solutions that we collaborate with financial bodies in India and companies.
Cool, cool. So the next question is, what is the prospect of import and export business in Israel?
I think that I have to get speaking under correction now. I think it's about $4 billion, but definitely the potential is much higher. And then I return it to you and encourage you to help us make it bigger. As I said, India and Israel are mainly completing each other, not competing with each other. You have the markets, you have the upscale, we have technology, you have great engineers that can help us to adjust Israeli products and solutions to the Indian market's needs. And this is very important, and we have acknowledged that. Yes, that something as a product, which I think is great. I mean, it works in Israel, it works in England, it works in New York, but it's not necessarily working in India or in, I don't know, in Japan, because different countries have different needs. Sometimes it's good, but it's too expensive. You have to make it affordable. Okay, you have to make it something that can resist the weather conditions of the country, etc. So we need your knowledge and experience to adjust the Israeli products to the Indian needs.
Cool. Okay. So another question: can we get permanent visa for Israel or citizenship? I think the person does tours. He operates tours in Israel. That's why I think he's asking.
Okay. Yes, visa is required, but it's very easy to get visa to Israel. We have 3 representations in India: embassy in New Delhi, consulate in Bangalore, which covers South India, and our consulate in Mumbai, which covers West India. So according to the region where you are, if you are in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, or Goa, you turn to us. Within a couple of days, you can get a visa. You know, you apply to the VFS centers. Today, the procedure is very easy. And if you're a businessman, it's even easier, as we try to encourage, as I said, the business cooperation with India. So less documents, you have a fast track that you can get within 48 hours, even 2 working days. You can get the visa, but 2 days required. If you are going for more than once, then you can apply also for a multiple visa. If you see that you have let's say, a long-term engagement with Israel, you can get a multiple visa. And we are very flexible and when it comes to the visa, because we want you, the Indian tourists, we want you, the Indian businessmen, the Indian media, we want you to come in Israel. And not less important than the visa itself, you'll feel very much welcome in Israel. This, you can ask all of your friends who've been there. I mentioned I-Create, yes, that we had the MOU with the Israeli Startup Nation Central. The director of I-Create said every time he comes to Israel, he feels so much welcome. People are, say, "Ah, you're from India?" And they start smiling, which is not the reaction he said he gets in many other places around the world. So we want you to come. It'll make it easier for you to come to Israel.
That's amazing to know. That's absolutely. Mr. Vikash Mittersen has made a very nice comment. He says India should finance at least 50,000 Indian graduates to do their higher education in Israel. It will expose those students to disciplines existing in Israel. So I hope that happens.
This is a very important note, and I second the suggestion. I can tell you, Mr. Mittersen, that already many Indian students have discovered Israel, that we have, state-of-the-art academic institutions. We talked a bit about the role also in the ecosystem, and places like the Technion in Haifa, the Tel Aviv University, Jerusalem University, Weizmann Institute for Sciences, where you can get a diploma which is worldly recognized for sometimes 25% of the price you would pay for a similar diploma from an American institute. So, and the biggest foreign students group in Israel are Indians, and we are very proud of that. 10% of the foreign students in Israel are Indian. We have many programs in English language, which is a great advantage. We have very vibrant social life for the students. You have like tutors who are following up the liaison officer for the foreign students to help them, find the way around Israel. And as I said, because Indians are so much welcome in Israel, the Indian students feel also very much at home and welcome, and it helps them not only on their academic studies, but also on their social and day-to-day stay in Israel.
Awesome, awesome. We've almost run out of time, but before we say goodbye, I'm going to read a comment from a member. We are doing part of floating solar projects. We wish to obtain technical collaboration for larger floating projects. So I'm sure Ajoy Khan Druya, you can get in touch with Priya, and Yaakov will share their details so that you can connect with the commercial officers there, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So on that note, I would like to invite Vikash for some closing comments. Vikash, unmute.
I think this was one of the most brilliant talks that I have heard from a consul in recent times. He has hardly left any space for questions. He said everything. What I would like to understand or know, can IBG officially represent any institutions or government bodies for information from India on an ongoing basis? We will contact you people again later on this subject. Thank you very much again. Very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikash. So with that, I would like to thank everyone who participated in today's session. A big thank you to Siddhi, Girish, and Sujata, who are a part of IBG team. They help our members tirelessly. So a very big thank you to you guys. And the biggest thank you to Yaakov. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us, for enlightening us with all the information that you gave us, and taking questions from our members. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. We are just putting in the chat the contacts, but we'll also send them directly to you in case someone missed the information in the chat. You are all very much welcome to come and contact us. You are partners, and more than that, you are friends and brothers and sisters. So thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.